This is our English Proficiency exam tutorial, Sentence Completion Part 6.
Welcome to Eastland English. I'm Yudee.
And I'm Robert.
Directions. Choose the best answer to complete each sentence.
Remember to take a risk. It's always better to choose before we explain. That way you have a better chance of remembering the correct answer, even if you didn't choose the correct answer the first time.
Number 1.
A quick and satisfactory end to this lockdown is the thing that is blank in our minds. A.
Furthest.
B.
Foremost.
C.
First off.
D.
Furnished.
Let's have a look at the answers.
I noticed choice C, first off, is an adverb, while other choices are adjectives.
Correct. We don't put an adverbial phrase in the middle of a sentence without commas setting it off. We normally use it at the beginning or the end of a sentence, but what we're looking for in the blank is an adjective. How do we know that? Because of the verb is. We generally don't use adverbs after the word is without an adjective following it, so we do need an adjective. Another key phrase in the stem sentence is satisfactory end. With this phrase in mind, let's look at the first choice, A, furthest. Furthest means far away in thought. Because we want a quick and satisfactory end, we wouldn't have it far away in our minds. Instead, we would want it first in our minds. Adjective D, furnished, means already there, and we rarely use the word furnished with a thought. Instead, we'd like to choose the adjective that means first or top priority, and that adjective is foremost.
The best answer is B, foremost.
Number 1 should be, a quick and satisfactory end to this lockdown is the thing that is foremost in our minds.
Number 2.
If scientists and researchers had been working around the clock, this current pandemic blank. A.
Could be avoided.
B.
Should have worked well.
C.
Might have been avoided.
D.
May not be so serious. This sentence is conditional.
Yes, we can tell that because of the word if. When we have a conditional sentence, we have to follow certain rules in grammatical structure, especially during tests. Now that we know it's a conditional sentence, what's the next thing that we look for to help us get the correct answer?
We have to look for some kind of verb tense, and this one is past perfect continuous, had been working.
Correct. So let's highlight that. In order to solve this question, we need to know that had been working is a form of past perfect. Yes, it is past perfect continuous, but all we need to know is that if the if clause has past perfect of any kind, it is a third conditional, one of the two unreal conditionals. Once again, for the third conditional, we need a form of a past tense modal verb and then the present perfect form of the verb tense. May implies the present tense, so we can delete D immediately. A has could be. B is not a present perfect tense. It is the present modal tense, so we can delete A as well. Even though A does make some sense, it is not the grammatical form that we're looking for. B and C are the two remaining, and both of them have a correct grammatical form of a modal verb in the past tense followed by the present perfect tense. However, they mean very different things. In the dependent clause of this sentence, the subject is the current pandemic, and we certainly don't want a current pandemic or any kind of pandemic to work well. Therefore, because of the meaning, we can delete B.
C is correct. Might have been avoided.
Number 2, if scientists and researchers had been working around the clock, this current pandemic might have been avoided.
Number 3,
she has married blank, a very well-off family, so she can now retire early. A.
into.
B,
to,
C,
with,
D.
for.
Number 3 is all about prepositions. Let's have a look at the 4 prepositions. Are any of these prepositions a little bit odd to you?
I have heard only the first 3 used with married, but I have never heard the 4th.
We're looking for the correct preposition to go with family. All of these prepositions are possible, but only one of them goes well with family. Married with is only used for something like children. She is married with children means that she has children. To can only be used with the passive voice, she is married to, and then her husband. Has married, on the other hand, is the present perfect form of the active voice. To doesn't work with family, and it doesn't work with the active voice. And in the passive voice, we only use to for the husband or the wife. In this case, into is the correct preposition to use because she's marrying into a group of people or a family. We also use into for abstract nouns. For example, she has married into fame if she marries a celebrity, or she has married into wealth.
A is the best preposition.
The correct sentence should go, she has married into a very well-off family, so she can now retire early.
Number 4.
Although Edward has no formal training, his experience and knowledge should blank to qualify him for the position. A,
Are well.
B,
Be too much.
C,
Is enough.
D.
Be enough.
Yudee, what do you notice in this sentence that can help you correctly answer it?
Should is a modal verb.
And what comes after a modal verb?
A bare infinitive.
Correct, and with the verb to be, the bare infinitive is not changed into is, am, and are. So we can delete A and C right away. Similar to one of our prior questions, we now have to look at the meaning. Qualify means to attain a certain level. There is no disqualification or negative effect from having too much. Therefore, eliminate B. If you have too much qualification, we use a different word. We use the adjective overqualified. For example, if a doctor applies for a clerk position, or if a lawyer applies to be a cashier, we would consider those people overqualified. But we do not use the verb form. Here, be enough is the correct answer. Number 4 should be,
Although Edward has no formal training, his experience and knowledge should be enough to qualify him for the position. Number 5.
he is still looking for work now because the last job offer blank he turned down. A,
That he had.
B,
That he has.
C,
He is having.
D.
He was having.
Even though the verb tense in the first part of the sentence is present continuous, is still looking, there is a key time clue that helps us identify the proper or correct verb tense for the blank.
That word is last.
Yes, and last means the past. Because answers B and C are both present tense, we can eliminate them immediately. Furthermore, after the comma, we have a clause that is also the past tense.
Turn down.
With these 2 clues available, we must choose an answer that uses the past tense.
B and C are both present tense.
Yes, they are. Let's get rid of those. So we're left with A and D. The main verb in both A and D is the verb have, which we consider a stative verb. And stative verbs are not often used in the present continuous tense. Have is very rarely used in the continuous tense. The exception to that rule is having a party or having a celebration. But in this case, having a job is never used. A is the best answer. That he had.
He is still looking for work now because the last job offer that he had he turned down. Number 6.
The mountains surrounding the city provide protection from the wind, but can often cause the pollution to blank in the air. A.
Have much.
B.
Permeate.
C.
Build up.
D.
Climate. The keyword here is to.
This keyword can help us eliminate one of the possible choices. We're looking for an infinitive. One of these choices is a noun. Which one is that?
Choice D, climate, is a noun.
Exactly. Let's get rid of it. Because it's a noun, we cannot use it here. Next, we'll look at B, permeate. Permeate means to go into or to go through, and it is never used with the preposition in following. So permeate in this case could be used if the blank were not followed by the preposition in. However, after the blank, we clearly see the word in, therefore cross off B. We're left with the two answers A and C that have similar meanings. Even though both have much and build up have similar meanings, we just don't say to have much in the air. Furthermore, by meaning, build up means to accumulate, which means have more and more every day. Build up is the best answer. Number 6. The mountains surrounding the city provide protection from the wind, but can often cause the pollution to build up in the air.
Number 7.
The robin bobbed its head up and down, appearing to blank worms in the ground. A.
Looks for.
B.
Be looking around.
C.
Be looking for.
D.
Look.
Similar to the last question, we have the word to before the blank. Both of them require a bare infinitive or verb 1 form of the verb.
So, we can delete A right away.
Excellent. Why is that?
Because the word look has an S.
Exactly. Good point. That leaves us with 3 other possible answers.
And then I will delete choice D as well because the word look should come with some kind of preposition.
Yes, it should. Let's delete D for that reason. B and C are very similar. The only difference is the preposition at the end of the phrase. Be looking around would be fine if it had for as well, or if there weren't an object to the sentence. But the object is worms, and we need the preposition for. C. Be looking for is the best answer.
The robin bobbed its head up and down, appearing to be looking for worms in the ground. Number 8.
In healthy humans, the heart blank beat both strongly and regularly, even though individual heart rates can vary. A.
Can.
B.
Ought to.
C.
Must to.
D.
Cannot.
All of these are modal verbs, but one of them is just incorrect.
You mean choice C?
I do.
Because to comes after must.
For that reason, this is incorrect. You can never use must to together. Have and ought both require to after them in order for them to be modals, but must never has to following it. Let's look at 2 keywords in the sentence. The first one is at the end of the sentence, vary. Vary means the same as differ. It's a verb that means be different or have a variety. Next, let's look at healthy. And finally, let's look at 2 other words, strongly and regularly. Even though implies some kind of contrary information or one positive statement matched with a negative statement. Because the word vary implies something out of the ordinary, we can consider this second clause a negative. For that reason, cannot be used. Again, vary means be different, even though implies contrast, so we can deduce or infer that the beginning of the sentence should be a positive statement. We are left with A and B, which are similar but not the same. Can implies ability. Ought to implies the expectation. Even though both of these are possible, one of them is better than the other. The goal for all sentence completion items is to find the best answer, and in high-level tests, testing your English proficiency level, they will often have two answers that are similar but not the same. Two answers that could possibly be used, but one of them is better than the other. Doctors expect a heart to beat strongly and regularly. That is why ought to is the best answer.
The correct sentence for this one should be:
In healthy humans, the heart ought to beat both strongly and regularly, even though individual heart rates can vary.
Number 9.
When Mr. Johnson opened the door, he discovered that his colleagues and his boss blank computer games in the office. A.
Had been playing,
B.
was playing,
C.
are playing,
D.
has been playing.
This question involves both verb tense and subject-verb agreement. Let's look at verb tenses first. What are some words that can help us answer this question?
There are two words. The first one is opened. The second one is discovered. These two words are past tense.
That's perfect, Yudee. These clues imply that the blank will also be some form of past tense.
So we can delete choice C and choice D because these two choices are present tense.
Correct. Good eye. Are and has are both present tense. Next, I'd like you to look at the subject of the object relative clause. His colleagues and his boss. The subject is compound, meaning there are two parts of it. The part closest to the blank is his boss. Although boss is singular, the full subject for this relative clause is plural. His colleagues and his boss. That is the reason we can delete B. A had been playing. Number 9 should go.
When Mr. Johnson opened the door, he discovered that his colleagues and his boss had been playing computer games in the office. Number 10.
We had just arrived at the campsite when blank, a deluge that lasted for hours and washed away our hopes of an enjoyable evening by the fire. A.
Rain began to.
B.
Comes down.
C.
Raining hard.
D.
Down came.
Are there any words that can help us right away to delete some of the options?
Yes, had just arrived refer to something that already happened in the past.
Correct. The past perfect tense is usually used to compare two things in the past. We're comparing the relative position in time of two events that both happened in the past.
We can delete B because the word comes has an S.
Absolutely correct. The S implies the present tense, and we have the past perfect tense, so we're looking for two past tense verbs. Past perfect tense is difficult, but even more difficult is this question. What I have just used is something called inversion. This sentence requires knowledge of inversion. Let's highlight the words following the blank, a deluge. As you may have guessed from the context of the sentence, a deluge is some form of rainstorm or a massive amount of water. Because this sentence requires inversion, we must look at the complex structure of the sentence. We have an independent clause to begin the sentence, followed by a subordinating conjunction when. Therefore, we need at least a verb. For that reason, we can delete C, which is an adverbial or an adverb phrase. We have two choices remaining, A and D. A is incorrect because rain equals a deluge, and began to requires a bare infinitive form of a verb after the word to. We're left with the proper form of an inversion. It's a choice not often used in academic writing. However, in literature, poems, and songs, inversion is often used. Down came is the correct answer. We have an adverbial inversion where the adverb starts the sentence, followed by the verb, followed by the subject of the sentence.
The correct answer for this one is D. Down came.
Number 10. We had just arrived at the campsite when down came a deluge that lasted for hours and washed away our hopes of an enjoyable evening by the fire. So number 10 is the most difficult one in this video because it's an example of literary inversion using the adverbial, then the verb, and then the subject of the sentence.
Isn't there a children's song using inversion?
Yes, there is a specific children's song that I was thinking about when I wrote this sentence. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. It's a song that's used to teach resilience or stick-to-itiveness or grit. The moral of the song is to keep trying until you succeed.
Thanks for watching.
Please like and comment under our videos. We would love to hear from you. Also, please subscribe to our channel if you want all of our free English tutorial videos.
Don't forget to click on notifications.
That way you'll get a message as soon as we release a new video. See you next time.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.